Hi, everyone. Welcome back for another episode for the Love of Health web show, where I get the chance to talk to other service-based business owners, coaches, consultants, people who are helping make a big difference in the world. They have a big heart. They want to make a tremendous impact. And so because of that, their services are not corporate. They're working in a more direct, customized way with their clients. I'm here with Ashleigh Kilcup today, and Kilcup.
Kilcup, yeah.
Thank you, Ashleigh Kilcup today. And Ashleigh works in the real estate area. So she is a commercial leasing expert, certified heroic coach, and the founder of a business called Lease Leverage. And I have this wonderful little synopsis. I'm going to read the whole thing if that's okay, Ashleigh.
Sure.
Ashleigh is a modern day Robin Hood. She's taking insider knowledge from her consulting work with major corporations to provide simple commercial leasing strategies to any small business owner can apply. So we're very grateful for that, right? Because she's no longer in that corporate space. She's taking what she learned and she's becoming an industry leader working with small businesses. She is a speaker, a leadership coach, and a commercial leasing consultant. And she lives outside of Seattle with her husband of nearly 15 years and two spirited young children. So she's passionate about leveling the playing field for independent businesses to strengthen our communities for the next generation. And she is known for her unflappable negotiating style, delightful humor, and assertive but fair negotiation style. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Ashleigh.
Oh, Laura, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I'm really glad to have you because we have so many service-based business owners in our network who are right now thinking about what is going on in our economy. Is it a time to be buying or renting or wholesaling real estate? What should I do to grow and scale my business?
Yeah. So I'll just do a little bit of my background. I actually was an architect before I got into commercial leasing. So I come by all my knowledge honestly. And I learned from working with some of the top corporations like Fortune 50 and also some of the biggest landlords, also local landlords. So I've gotten a pretty good smattering of the moves. And what I've created here is kind of the what you need to know version, because commercial real estate is, I mean, even within that, there is specialty upon specialty upon specialty. And so you don't want to know that, right? Like you don't want to know every single thing and why it matters in commercial real estate, unless you're going to be a landlord, unless you're going to make that your job. And so, but what I have seen over and over again, and what I am on a mission to help solve is the owner operators that are wearing all the hats and they sort of avoid or just go with the flow when it comes to their real estate, when real estate is one of their top two expenses and they really need to engage with it enough so that it becomes an asset rather than a liability for them in their business.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is lease leverage?
Yeah, so lease leverage is my solution to that problem that I keep seeing, and it actually took me. I'm not proud of it, but it took me a hot minute to figure it out because I come from a service background. I mean, I may be very relatable here. I just consulted at an hourly rate, and people would contact me, all referral based, and it was pretty straightforward. And then, and the most of the people that hire me are in commercial real estate. So they're in commercial real estate. They hire me because I'm the best at what I do in commercial leasing. And so, like, that's again, specialty upon specialty upon specialty. What I've gone to create is trainings. And so, what I want is to have at, when you need it, you can consume it however you choose. And it's going to give you the high level strategies of how to get yourself ready and whatnot. And then to pair or marry with that, I do group coaching. And so we meet every week. And that's once you go through any of my trainings to get yourself ready. But once you get into a negotiation or potentially before you start the negotiation, it's nice to get a gut check because every building's different, every business is different. And the strategies are universal, but how you apply them could be specific to you. And the biggest thing that I'm looking for is, what's your advantage here? How do you get leverage, right? So what do you bring to the table that landlord's going to want? How do you highlight it for them? How do you know what to ask for? The simple thing most people do is like they focus on the economics because we can all do math, right? So they want to push back on the rent or, potentially the rent escalations, and they don't realize sort of the game they're playing and where the money's hidden in the deal. And the biggest money isn't money at all. It's the ability to run your business unobstructed.
Awesome. So what kinds of challenges are happening right now with the recession and the ongoing inflation?
Well, so I started in this business, like I was an architect and then switched over to brokerage 2009-ish. That's when I originally went through the commercial real estate professional program that I'm now on the advisory committee for with the University of Washington. That was a huge transition that everyone went through then. Like, I think it's so long ago now, and maybe we all just kind of got like indoctrinated into it, but the Amazon factor and all the delivery, and it created a really different way of operating in the world for all of us. And so, but real estate always sustains, right? It will always continue. They say like real estate's always a good investment. That's not true, by the way. The one I heard that I like better is real estate always makes money. It's just who and when. Because a lot of people lose their shirts just the same. But so right now people are mostly coming up over plane on what it looks like in this post-COVID world. There is an acceptance overall that you need to have an online marketing strategy paired with having a physical location. I think, the first question that I ask anyone who's getting into like wanting a retail location is, and by retail, I mean any storefront is mostly what we're talking about, as opposed to an office tower, medical office building, or industrial type location. Is make sure like why you want the physical space, because sometimes people just think like that makes them real, and that's not always, it's like not always required, and it's a huge risk to take on, not to mention a massive undertaking in terms of the negotiation and the build out and blah blah blah. So people are where they always are as small business owners. They are stressed, overwhelmed, wearing all the hats. How it manifests typically isn't like, people aren't like, you know what I need? A better lease. That's definitely what's going on here. Because that stress becomes kind of inherent in their business, whether it be, feeling like their rent's too high, but they don't want to move or whatnot. Where it usually starts showing up for them is honestly more in like managing their staff, feeling like they never get any time off. It's more like the typical overwhelm spots where you want to just sort of get back to straight, back into alignment with why you started this business and what you're trying to do.
So is the market then, so is the market not really are the rents or the pricing higher than usual, lower than usual?
So that's another thing that's really a misnomer. Commercial real estate moves, you can think of it like a cruise liner compared to a speedboat. The sum of like a mom and pop type ownership might just adjust their rent because the market's a little tighter or they have a lot of vacancy. But most landlords are sophisticated enough, and think again, they got a mortgage on the property, a commercial mortgage, but a mortgage. So most of their costs are fixed. So, and hopefully they're not so tight on their cash flow that they have to lease that space up right away, because commercial leasing just takes time. And that's probably like the number one thing that I would say. It takes time, and you want time on your side so that you can negotiate well. If your back's against a wall, it's not a great negotiating position to be in for anybody. So most rents have come down a little bit maybe, but again, that's going to be like ownership dependent. And also it's going to have to do with the area that you're in. I live outside Seattle. There's a few areas that have been hit really hard by COVID, but also we have a homelessness issue. And so, if there's a lot of encampments on the street and people aren't feeling as safe, whether it be, early in the morning or late at night or just throughout the day, if people aren't coming buy those areas as much, then that area is going to hurt. And so every economy is very local in this regard, in terms of what they can afford and what are the micro things that are going on around them that are causing a problem or not.
Great. And so you mentioned earlier that, if someone was looking to open a retail space, that we shouldn't just think about, making the business real because it's a space now. What other factors might go into a decision making for where you put your retail location?
So yeah, there's a few factors that I always kind of talk through. The first and by far the most important is your customer. So who if you're a service-based professional, where are they coming from? Where are they most likely? When would they be most likely to use your services? Like maybe they live in a suburb but work downtown, and maybe they're more likely to use your services like while they're at work. Just pop out for a quick break and come back. Or maybe they're more likely to, if you're a coffee shop, visit you on their way to work so they can enjoy their latte on the way there. So you want to just think about like, where are they coming from and going to, and when do you want to intercept them? Like what makes it as easy as physically possible for them to say yes and have it be how they want it. So the other thing that plays into that for real estate, and part of like what I do and when it gets really fun when I'm working with a landlord, is synergy. So total buzzword, right? But you want to find where are your customers already going that maybe you could, grab onto that. And then, because who doesn't love that? Like if you think about yourself as the customer, who doesn't love it when you can like go get a massage and then get a chiropractic adjustment and then get your nails done or something, it's like, and you just parked once and you just bam, 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 all got it done. And that's awesome. That's going to create more draw that they're going to want to come to you and your location. And then of course, it's what do you do after that creates that draw, makes them want to come back and they had a great experience that is something they can look forward to for the next time.
So what are the big mistakes that maybe the top 3 mistakes that small business owners make when it comes to this, and how could they avoid them?
Yeah. So Laura and I talked beforehand and we were like, I was brainstorming. I have a freebie that I'll offer. That's the 5 biggest mistakes that lease owners make. In the lease, the 3 things that I would say would be believing that you have to sign a personal guarantee. Everything is a rule until it's not. And I can't tell you how many small business owners I talk to that say, well, I had to, like, no, but you don't get it. Like my negotiation. I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like I've negotiated against Fortune 5s and we get it. Like if you push and you hold your ground and you do it the right way, you can make almost anything happen. And a personal guarantee is a massive liability. It is. This one reason is why I created Lease Leverage, is because I was dealing with good people who were signing a personal guarantee and either didn't understand it or didn't think they had a choice in it. And it just boils my blood. So can you always get no personal guarantee? No, sometimes it is the reality, but you have to know how you've approached it and know that it's not a mandatory requirement for everyone. And it means that your house, your car, your 401k, like everything is at risk with this venture. And so, yeah. So the things that I recommend doing, this is the other piece too. It's not a yes and a no for the personal guarantee. So let's say I'm starting a retail location. First thing is I would, for the personal guarantee, if first I say no personal guarantee, right? Not doing it. The landlord's going to come back and say, you have to. They will, no matter what, they will say that, even if you don't have. So then we'll push back and I'll have a conversation with them. And that's one of the other strategies when you're negotiating is get out of writing to get to agreement. Sometimes get them on the phone and have the conversation and see what they can offer you when you're being a human with them rather than a negotiating adversary over email or whatever. So do that. But the next thing I would ask is, limit it by a time frame or limit it by a dollar amount. So typically you can run some pretty easy math for how much the landlord is spending for you. They're going to have to pay leasing commissions, and they have their own attorney's fees and any build out or tenant improvement allowance they're offering you. But what's that number? And by what you're paying in rent, when do you break even on that? Maybe even give them a little over that. And then say that's the number. And then my personal guarantee goes away, or it goes down to a smaller, more reasonable amount. That's one. I know, that's number one. So, and then I'll go, you know what, I'm just going to give you the link for you to give them on the, because this is so quick and I can talk about commercial leasing forever. But I would say the number one mistake that small business owners make with regards to commercial leasing is just avoiding it. And it's one of those things, like, it comes along every 5 to 10 years, but it's so important to your business. Whatever you're doing, wherever you're going with your business, your lease will probably hamstring the process if you don't engage with it and actually have a game plan and a strategy for how your commercial real estate can work for you. So that would be like my number one tip, is just engage early and have a plan and know how it works. Know enough to be dangerous.
Do you prefer renting, or do you prefer ownership when it comes to these recommendations?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm in commercial real estate, so the answer is always going to be ownership. If you have that available to you, what it matters is, again, when you go back to your location, and where you locate is going to be based on your customer journey. The other factors, of course, would be your employees. If you have like really specialized employees, where are they coming from? Making it easy for them, because you don't want to move to a place that's perfect for your customers and you lose all your awesome employees. And then, of course, yourself. But so when you find the right location for you and your business, sometimes ownership isn't possible. Sometimes it's totally possible. You always want to own real estate. You want to be in a controlling position. So if that's available to you, definitely do that. And also learn some stuff, because that makes you a landlord too. And that's a whole new business. In my world of landlording, it's comical when, so I'm part of this University of Washington commercial real estate course. And a couple of years ago, there was a group that came through, and they had this big, beautiful space, building that they created and all of that. And then they were going to have a co-working space. And so the question was, okay, so who's your tenant for the co-working space? Who is this business? And they're like, we're going to do it ourselves. And it was like, bang, you fail. Because that's a different business to get into, right? Like learning how to operate in the co-working space and how that all goes, and becoming an operator of that is a whole new business. So is landlording. So get educated, but definitely over the long term, everything you see is, you know, it's usually an amortization, depending on how you buy the property, but, you know, not to get too financial, but the amortization, you're going to be paying that off. And you also fix your expenses related to real estate. Like, that's a fun game. So while everything else is getting more expensive, you know what's not getting more expensive? Your mortgage. So that becomes really powerful if you can get a big enough space or building where you can play that same game, but from like a lease perspective. That's also true. You know, if there's a commercial condo or something to that effect. But if you have other tenants, then again, your basis stays the same while cost of living and everything increases.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool introduction to this. So, you know, we're reaching the end of our time, and I understand you have a free gift to share. And you have already kind of told us about the tips and the words that are going to be used in it, so people can get a better understanding of what's going on here. So what would be the most important message or action you'd like our listeners to take away from this today?
Well, I kind of already said it. So yes, the free gift is the 5 fatal mistakes that small business owners make when negotiating their lease. So it's talking about the terms of the lease, and terms are, you know, the who's doing what by when, yada, yada, rights. So that I've given you the link for that, and anyone can go and download that. It's like is you're going
And
to
that's
hate it.
rental, right, Ashleigh? That's so if you have a
For
lease, that's
leasing, absolutely.
for
That's for
rental.
leasing.
So with ownership, that looks a little bit different, right?
For ownership, it would look different, but not to go too far off, but even if you're going to own your building, I would recommend you have it as a separate entity from your business. So you would buy it with one legal entity and then rent it to yourself, to your other company that's an operating company. And you do this for legal protections. That way, if somebody's walking down the sidewalk, trips and falls and wants to sue you, they can't go after your business. It's isolated to just the building. So it would still apply because you'd still be doing a lease with yourself. And those terms would be applicable no matter what. But yeah, ownership is a different game to play. And mostly what I'm trying to help people with is leasing, because leasing is where they tend to be the bigger underdog in the equation. So there's the link to that. The thing that I would leave everyone with is it's not as hard as you think. If you talk through it, and I know I talk fast and there is a lot here, but normal people, like commercial real estate industry is full of frat boys. So, and I know you talk about like the bro marketing. If they can do it, we can do it. And all you have to do is actually get in the game and get yourself educated. And that doesn't need to be a huge effort. And it'll build your confidence in all other areas of your business in terms of like the accounting and legal and like the icky parts.
Awesome. So how does someone get started if they're interested in learning more about commercial real estate? And I guess you already gave us some juice about like getting to know our customer and really great tips today about, where and how we should be locating our spaces. But how do we like actually get into rooms talking to other people about real estate?
Oh, yeah. Well, as far as I'm concerned, there's lots of meetups and all of that. What you have to be careful about is most of the people that are showing up to those are brokers, and brokers are effectively salespeople. And so they're going to sell you, right, on what they're doing. And what I've created and why it's different is that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm really trying to empower small business owners to go and like do it themselves and be there for them so that they feel like they can go negotiate and come back and be like, okay, so this happened, now what? Because that's typically how it goes. And for me, getting in touch with me, lease-leverage.com. If you do download the free gift, there's an invitation to have a conversation with me. So you could tell me, what is it that you want to talk through? I think I have it on my website as well. Or email us at hello@lease-leverage.com.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Ashleigh, for coming on to the show today and giving us your expertise, showing us a little bit of what you're going on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.